Gene Deal just dropped another major bombshell. And this time it's about what Netflix refused to let the world see. According to Gene, there were stories so serious and so dangerous that they never made it into 50 Cent's Diddy documentary. Now, Gene says he knows exactly why.
I told him what we was bringing to the table, who was going to tell a story, how they was going to tell a story. You know, I didn't know exactly what they were going to say, but I knew Tim grew up with Puff, so he can get the childhood thing. So I'm going and telling him the whole angle in which I would like for this to go, you know what I'm saying, what we was bringing to the table. It fell through because the lady was telling me what somebody else didn't give me or what somebody else didn't pay me, and she was being disrespectful, you know what I'm saying?
When 50 Cent sold his Diddy documentary to Netflix for millions, everyone expected Gene Deal to be front and center. Gene wasn't just anyone, he was Diddy's personal bodyguard during the peak Bad Boy years. He was around for everything. The East Coast and West Coast tension, the night Tupac was shot, and the night Biggie was killed. If anyone had real stories, it was Gene. But when the documentary dropped, Gene was nowhere to be seen. No interviews, no footage, nothing. That alone raised eyebrows. At the same time, Netflix released a series packed with never-before-seen footage of Diddy in the days before his arrest. Private moments, conversations, and behind-the-scenes clips made headlines, and Diddy even threatened legal action over some of the footage. But according to Gene, what Netflix showed was not the full truth, not even close.
They showed pictures of different people that was no longer, but they was instrumental in the Bad Boy. They couldn't even tell the real Bad Boy story, how Puff and them got their money, got started and stayed in the game before Clyde Davis. You understand what I'm saying? Because they didn't have the pictures, they didn't have the person to deliver the story. You know what I'm saying? Bad Boy got their start with Corey Jacobs. Corey Jacobs, the dude you see next to Puff before he went to jail the whole 9 yards. Corey Jacobs went to jail for drug distribution and transporting narcotics, and he got 9, 16 to life sentences. You know what I'm saying? So he was pardoned by Obama. His money and Wolf money is the money that started Bad Boy. You know what I'm saying? To keep Big, you know, when he let Big go, when Andre Harrell let Big them go, and Craig Mackner, Puff had to get money to keep them there. You understand what I'm saying? Before he can go make the deal with Clyde Davis. So what he do? He take their money to piece Big them off for some money before he makes his deal. You understand what I'm saying? So they couldn't even tell that story. That's a good story.
Gene finally explained why he wasn't part of the documentary. At first, he was working with the team. They wanted his footage, his photos, and his first-hand stories. But things changed after he spoke with the director, Alex Stapleton. Gene says she told him directly that 50 Cent didn't control the money or what made it into the final cut. When Gene heard what they were offering to pay for his material, he felt disrespected. He says he had rare footage, real evidence, and stories no one else could tell. In his mind, they were offering pocket change for information worth millions. So Gene walked away.
You understand? Because I was talking to the producers, and before I talked to the executive director, and the producers knew, I was telling them what I was bringing to the table. Because I was trying to get a deal for me, Kirk, and Tim all together. Like a package deal. I wanted to try to get like 50,000 for each one of us. You know what I'm saying? So I told them what we was bringing to the table, who was going to tell a story, how they was going to tell a story. You know, I didn't know exactly what they were going to say, but I knew Tim grew up with Puff, so he can get the childhood thing. So I'm going and telling him the whole angle in which I would like for this to go. You know what I'm saying? What we was bringing to the table. I didn't know how they was going to do it, but I was saying, this is what we're going to bring to the table. Tim could start off with the childhood part of it because they grew up together. That's Tim Dog, Tim Patterson. Also, you know, he was the one who was working at Uptown. He was executive over there of A&R and all that other stuff. He went to Island Records. He used to work with over there at Arista, the whole 9 yards. Tim is the one who had the Lost Boys. If you remember the Lost Boys, You know what I'm saying? Tim was the manager of them. That was his group and everything like that. So Tim had a lot of inside and a lot of stuff to do with Puff. I had a lot of other people I could have brought to the table too. Eddie F, who taught Puff how to work the board and everything like that. Just Eddie F, Heavy D, and the boys DJ. I was gonna try to get Eddie and some other people like that. But it fell through because the lady was telling me what somebody else didn't give me or what somebody else didn't pay me, and she was being disrespectful, you know what I'm saying?
Gene says money wasn't the only reason he was left out. He claims the documentary also cut massive pieces of evidence that could have completely changed how people understand everything. One of the biggest examples is the so-called East Coast versus West Coast war. According to Gene, that entire narrative is wrong. He says it was never about the East Coast against the West Coast. Artists from both sides were still traveling, working together, and showing love. The real conflict, Gene claims, was between two record labels Bad Boy and Death Row, and at the center of it all were Diddy and Suge Knight.
So you have some people that say that Tupac, he was the one behind the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy. And you got some people that say that, you know, the beef between Death Row and Bad Boy started when Big J got killed. But from your point of view, when did the tension and beef start between Death Row and Bad Boy?
All the tension started between Puff and Suge Knight. You understand? All the tension came from Puff and Suge Knight. Suge wanted Puff to have Big them do a show. Puff wanted to get paid for Big doing the show. But Suge had did a whole lot of shit, free shit for Puff at one time. Cause when Puff used to come out to California, before he could afford security, before he could afford it, Suge used to look out for the cat. You understand what I'm saying? So now it became they bullshit. Then when Suge bought Misa out there, you understand? When Suge bought Misa out there and talk about what the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will, then Jake, you know, Jake being killed by Jason, you understand? And they making that bullshit up like Bad Boy had something to do with it. All that shit was over women. And niggas being emotional like women. That's what it was all about. It was over women, Jake disrespecting Jason girl, you understand, wife? Suge disrespecting Misa, Puff's baby mama, and them niggas being emotional like women. A lot of niggas is behind bars based on their emotions. And them niggas is right where they at because of their emotions. People have lost their lives over the way a nigga felt. So, that's what the East Coast, West Coast shit started off.
Gene also says the documentary skipped over the truth about the death of bodyguard Jake Robles. He claims Mark Curry knows exactly who was responsible and that it was not the person many people believe. According to Gene, it was a Jamaican man from the Bronx who was later killed by police at a club called Magic City. That detail, he says, was completely ignored. Even more shocking, Gene claims Death Row actually tried to make peace. They wanted to set up a meeting to squash the issues between Tupac, Biggie, Bad Boy, and Death Row. They were ready to calm everything down. But according to Gene, Diddy refused to go. He wouldn't attend the meeting and wouldn't send anyone from Bad Boy either.
It was Bad Boy and it was Death Row. It was no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to
straighten it out. I gotta get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now, they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out the shit between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on him behind that.